Bubbly, bubbly, doo. All right. Well, it's it's the eve before the big day. I I don't. Well, I'll let some more of you guys get in here if Susan should decide to send us some notifications. But this is a tough one. This is a tough election to feel solid about any type of prediction. Krusty Bombs in, so is Cesaro and Josh Unknown, Cody Wolverine, Yeet Savage, Gunnum Bob, Boogie Hill Winston, Jess here, Willie, Joseph and Jacob and Anbu AMVs, Jonathan, Christic BTG's here. He says everyone loses. You know what? BTG might just have the most accurate and most depressing prediction that we're going to hear. We all lose. It doesn't really matter. Pause JoJo part 2 for this, Cody? Now that's a compliment. Anytime you pause JoJo, it's got to be for something substantial. Brian says, I voted for Allstate to protect myself from mayhem. Like me. I like those commercials. I don't know why. I just like that guy. He is the perfect representation of mayhem. I do like him. Let's see. Adam says, I don't drink, but I will be tomorrow. Adam, I'm with you. I don't drink at all either. And like you say, if there was an occasion that might force it, that would be it. As far as, there's a lot of things I wanted to, let me put on my Mickey Mouse ears though, too, just so I can hear sound effects and stuff. It's not only who wins, who loses the presidential election. It's the House and the Senate and the potential fallout. That's a lot of what everybody is concerned about as well. But as far as the presidential election, man, this one's tough to say. Barry says, other than Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Florida, key states for Trump. No, I think you've pretty much outlined them, Barry's. Pennsylvania more than any of the others. And again, this is just my prediction. I think he wins Florida. I think he's okay there. I don't think. I think Wisconsin and Michigan are long shots, and I think Pennsylvania is just impossible to say. But I do think Pennsylvania is going to be the pivotal one. It seems to me. I was playing around with the Electoral College map. Barry's the stream boss. The Electoral College map, how you can pick the states yourself and see what the numbers are. And probably 75 to 80% of the potential scenarios that I see anyway, just, being somebody who follows politics, 75 to 80% of the scenarios I ran, it's all dependent on Pennsylvania. Now, again, I could be way wrong going either way. I could be wrong, and just like last time, Trump does really well in the Rust Belt. I didn't think he was going to last time either, and he won those states. I could be wrong, and maybe Florida isn't going for Trump, in which case it pretty much blows everything else out of the water. So it was just my, what I feel is coming. Brian says, being from Pennsylvania, my whole county and surrounding area is probably voting for Trump. Well, I think, Brian, you have a similar thing going on in Pennsylvania that we do in New York. If you're talking land mass, it's a landslide for Trump here. The vast majority of the state will be red, but he will win the state handily because obviously, especially for us, you got New York City. So the biggest portions of the population are all together in small areas. So he'll, again, if the election, well, in general, nationwide, if the election was run strictly by landmass, let's say you just drew up a county by county map throughout the nation, and whoever had the most color won, Trump would win in one of the great landslides of all time. But that's not how we elect presidents. But yeah, I get what you're saying. That's where I am too. If you live where I am, you would think, oh man, this is gonna be an annihilation, because that's you probably see Trump paraphernalia 7-8 to 1 up here that should do Biden. Ryan says, not to be selfish, but I'm glad I'm British now.
Oh,
I completely understand, Ryan.
yeah.
I completely understand. You guys are entering into another lockdown, huh? Oh, that sucks. I feel for you guys. I see that, what is it, till December 2nd you guys got put back in lockdown? Oh, that sucks. Hey, Kyle. Hello, chat people and critics. I think Biden will win. Unfortunately, most Americans are sheeple and don't pay attention to what's happening. It, it's a difficult one for me to call. If it was like gun to head time and I had to pick, again, not who I'm rooting for, but who I think's going to win, I think Biden has the
Oh,
edge.
yeah.
I was at, last week, I think I told you guys, I was earlier, no, it was the end of last week. I was at about 65-35 Biden. I would make that closer to 60-40 now. Maybe even 55-45. Now, I don't mean in vote breakdown. I mean in potential to win the Electoral College. I think it's gotten closer, but I don't think that Trump's over the hump. This might be the one election Florida doesn't throw. You're right, Cheyenne. And like Cheyenne says, it's usually always comes down to Florida, except in the blowout elections we've had. But over recent times,
Oh,
recent elections, yeah, it always comes down to
yeah.
Florida. And Trump could lose Florida and still win. It's just highly unlikely. But again, I don't think in my lifetime, Pennsylvania has been a swing state for some time, but I don't think it's ever been considered the swing state as much as it is this time. I've never seen this much riding on Pennsylvania going into it. Brian says, I wish I was British. Understandable. Wolverine says, check my last post. It says, my name also applies to Thanksgiving. You can carve a turkey. Good point. I didn't think about it because a lot of the gang here, mostly the mods,
Oh,
had changed their screen names
yeah.
for the Halloween season, and Wolverine went to Wolverine but carved. And yes, you're right. That flows. You got the perfect segue right from Halloween into Thanksgiving without changing a thing. John says, I'll be staying up to watch. Hope Trump wins. Love your videos. Keep it up. Ireland for Trump. Well, thanks, John. I appreciate that. Let me see too if I can get this. I don't know what the hell is wrong with this chat box, you guys. It just doesn't work anymore. See if I can get it running for you again. I'm going to take it out of here shortly. All right, should be good now. Jesus Christ, always having to reset it. Jack Who says, I'm not American, but still interested to see who's going to win. Sure, that's understandable. After all, the world is talking about it. Right. It's kind of like a big music show, only it's two old men beating each other over a country. Pretty much. Yeah. Well, and then again, I feel that Biden has the edge. I certainly don't think it's a major upset if Trump wins. But I do think Biden's got the edge going in. I think the House clearly stays Democrat. And my prediction on the Senate is the Republicans barely hold on to a majority. I'm thinking they're going to be at like 51-49. Cheyenne says, I might live stream the Georgetown chaos from my window. Oh, I can't even
Oh,
imagine, Cheyenne. Being right in the heart of D.C. like that and everything at school. And I hope you're feeling good. For those who don't know, Cheyenne tested positive for COVID last week. So I hope everything's going well with how you feel.
Oh, yeah.
Barry says, I'd also say Texas, Arizona, and maybe Nevada are key for Trump. Oh, completely, Barry's completely, especially Texas. I don't even mention Texas because I still don't buy into the fact that Biden has a legit chance there. And again, I could be wrong. We're just talking predictions here. I think Trump wins it by 4 or 5 points. I could be wrong. I don't think that one's in doubt. But without question, if Texas goes blue, forget it. It's over then. If Texas goes blue, it's a substantial Biden win.
Oh,
Arizona and Nevada could both go either way,
yeah.
and they're really important for Trump. You're right. But if Texas or Georgia, they're saying Georgia's in play. I don't see that, but if they are and it goes Biden, that's a bad sign for the night for Trump. Hey, Night Ruby. Shrek is Daddy says, once people vote tomorrow, Trump is going to pull ahead. I think so. This is another thing that's going to make it real. I think Some of you guys will be able to back me up on this or correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Florida is one of the states that is scheduled to have their votes in tomorrow, though. All the states are doing it differently, and I think Florida's results we'll know tomorrow. There's a lot of them where we'll be waiting on mail-ins and stuff. I think the worst thing that can happen as far as the potential for significant fallout is if it does go a day, 2 days, 3 days, and we still don't have a winner. That's going to get bad. Hey, T-King. Money in My Mind says, under who would the economy benefit more? Trump or Biden? I personally... See, that's a tough one, too, because I don't like a lot of the corporate tax breaks that Trump has enacted. I like basically there are parts of it I have issue with, but I basically like Biden's health care plans, and that does have a direct effect on the economy. I think overall the economy will do better under Trump, because I do think Biden will be forced to, and I think they're aware of this, to get some of the plans he wants in place, and to satisfy big parts of his base, there will be fairly significant tax increases, and I think that will hurt the economy. So I'm going to say Trump.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. Barry says, next post, really important rumors flowing. Sure, I'd like to hear them. Susan is going to become president. BT says, "Oh no, please, BT, please don't even joke about that." I don't think Susan would run for president anyway. I think she'd only be interested in Empress. I don't think president would be enough power for her. You guys are funny. Moku says, "Hey man, it's good to see you. I've been a fan of your work since the Filthy Frank age. You look good. House pass good. He's doing good. Moku. He just sent me a picture from his school. Now he's west of where I am, and he's much closer to the lakes. He gets close to that Great Lakes area of New York.
Oh, yeah.
And they got a significant amount of snow on the ground up there, so we're not happy about that. Oh, Ryan is stream boss now. Trump is better for the economy. The 33.1% third quarter GDP is historic. True, Ocho. That was a good indicator, too. Yeah, that's true. I mean, everything has to be taken with something of a grain of salt because of the pandemic, but no, you're right. You're absolutely right. Ryan says, a good thing about this lockdown, I have so much time to play Assassin's Creed Valhalla when I get it. So that's a plus. Hearts out to America, by the way. Well, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. Assassin's Creed are just such gorgeous freaking games. They really are. I'm watching. Hold on, guys. I'm watching for Barry's too on the next post. Said he's heard some good rumors we might be interested in. Okay, here we go. Excuse me. Oh boy. Barry says, I've been hearing rumors from smaller news outlets that there's potential for a terrorist attack at a polling place in a minority community here in Philly. Not 100% sure, but I'm not surprised. Oh, I hope that's not true. That's I think, not just me, I think a lot of people are afraid of is the tensions are just so high. I was really surprised, you guys, did you guys see the big groups of Trump supporters that came out in Beverly Hills and then shut down the Tappan Zee Bridge? They call it the Governor Mario Cuomo Bridge. It's the Tappan Zee. That's just his kid throwing some undeserved praise towards his old man. But shutting down the Tappan Zee Bridge last night, I'm just surprised to see that many supporters coming out with moves that big before the election even takes place. I will say this. I think that in an unusual twist because of the type of candidate Trump is, I think that actually helps him only because, Trump, of course, is hated by the mainstream media and you hear so much negative out there about him all the time. I think when people see things like, these big groups of people coming out in support of him, I think there's a tendency for some people to say, "Oh, well, I don't have to hide what I think anymore. I can vocally support the candidate I want to support." So I think that helps them a little. Typically, something like that I would say would hurt a candidate. Cheyenne says Tennessee is going to go red, but I would say it's going to be closer to blue than it's ever been. Really, Cheyenne? Tennessee? I'm surprised you asked, because Tennessee is so solid red, so dark red. Wow, I'm really surprised. Jack Hu says, so can you clarify, since I'm not from the USA, there's not a parliament. We have a Congress that is made up of the House and the Senate. The Senate has 2 senators from each state, and the House is, I don't even remember how many House seats there are now, but are represented by smaller or more individualized sections of the country. Whoever wins as president holds the power, and whatever he says goes, right? No. Is there ways to push the decision back? Yes. The checks and balances run through the Congress, which is similar to a parliament. And each portion of Congress, like I say, the Senate and the House, have their own distinct responsibilities, but that is supposed to be our system of checks and balances. Wolverine says, just realized all the mods are either American or European. To be honest, I don't give it any thought till just now. PLF says, Curtis, I think swing states have too much power and I have a way to fix it. Excuse me, guys, I got to tickle my nose. Split the electoral votes in each state like Maine does. Yeah, that's not a horrible idea. New York is a perfect example of it. Just for what I outlined, if you look at after the election tomorrow, or you can look at 2016's or whatever, look at a county map of New York. You'll see it's almost entirely red, yet the state will vote blue. So that is, you would have people, the biggest problem with that, PLF, I don't disagree with you. Can you imagine the titanic fight that would take place in how to break down those electoral votes, though? Because each side is going to, we know which areas tend to vote red, which one tend to vote blue. Each side would be so desperate to get those lines drawn in a way that benefits them. Oh my God, what a fight that would be. In theory, I completely agree with you. I think you're right. Cheyenne says, as someone in D.C. and has been to an inauguration, I've never been here during an election, but okay, I'll wait. I'll wait, Cheyenne. I'll watch for it. Excuse me. I think it would be very amusing if Texas and Florida turned blue. Well, Florida, I don't even think really. I mean, I know it was red last time, but with Florida, it's hard to even say that it's a turn blue because Florida is a swing state. I'm sorry, guys. Something that's tickling my nose. Florida is solid purple anyway. It can go either way without a problem. Now, Texas turning blue would be monstrous, would be huge. But Florida voting Democrat, that's not. I mean, that's not a big surprise by any stretch. Texas would be, yes. Oh my God, yes. But I'm watching Professor Shane. As someone in D.C., she said, and has been to an inauguration and never been here during an election. Oh, here she goes. They're putting up security like they would for an inauguration. Security fences and the Secret Service vehicles forces are more visible than ever. I think they're just being extra cautious. I don't expect war. I don't think, Cheyenne, and see if you guys agree with me. Lixbox needs $500. Lix, I like the name change. Yeah, we definitely need Shy not to die right now. You're 100% right on that. I don't think no matter who wins, we're looking at any type of immediate concern for a civil war. I think we have to be concerned about immediate pockets of unrest that could get violent. And that, of course, is when you get afraid that it's going to be a precursor to something bigger. If Biden wins, I think you're going to have a couple of years of uneasiness, only because you've got the far right extremists that are on edge, and I think it's not going to take much, and certainly the taxes would be the thing. If you were to see a significant increase in taxes, if people are not taking as much money home out of their paychecks, I think that's when things would get ugly.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan says, if it was possible, I'd vote Sarge from RVB. Yeah, I would jump on that. Yeah. Hey, Wolverine, you're a stream boss. Spoiler alert. I think he meant Bill Cosby is innocent. Yeah, that would be a major spoiler. Okay, Reese says, I think Florida, North Carolina, and Arizona are locks for Trump because Biden's polling lead is less than Hillary's in 2016. That's a good point. If Trump wins all three, then he needs one of Pennsylvania, Minnesota, Michigan, or Wisconsin. Couldn't agree more. Reese. That's pretty much exactly how when I was doing the map, it came out for me too. And the reason I kept saying Pennsylvania's swing of those four, don't you think Pennsylvania is the most likely to go Trump? I could be wrong. People from Minnesota, and we've had several of them on here. People from Minnesota keep trying to say, whether it's been here or on social media, keep trying to tell me that Minnesota's going Trump. And again, I'm not doubting them. I don't live there. I don't see it. I don't see why. But I've had a bunch of people that live in Minnesota say, no, don't believe the polls. Well, we'll see. But yes, I agree with you, Reese. I think of those, Pennsylvania is the one that's the biggest actual swing state.
Oh,
Cheyenne says, of course, I think
yeah.
that's what they're suiting up for. A couple of my Secret Service friends have just said they're taking extra long shifts. They've been getting more credible threats than usual. Yikes. I can't say that surprises me, Cheyenne. Yeah. That's unfortunate, and what I'd be even more worried about are the threats that they haven't received. Because you just get concerned for every one of these groups, these extremist groups on either side, that makes themselves known or they get brazen enough and stupid or are stupid enough to get on the Secret Service and the FBI's radar. I'm concerned for every one of them. There might be a couple that are playing it too cool and haven't gotten on the radar yet, and that's where things could get really bad. Barry says, here in Philly, the National Guard has been fully deployed to deter violence and civil unrest, especially after the cop that killed a black man here too. Right? I hear they're preparing for a civil war. I can honestly say this is the first time in my life that I can say that talk about a potential civil war is not hyperbolic. I mean, I hope it's not the case. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that it's actually something that we have to be concerned with. You've heard it mentioned over the past decades here or there whenever there's a significant shift or whenever one party or the other makes a significant move, but it was never serious until now. Xander says, hey, Curtis, what are your thoughts on everyone moving to Texas? Because like the other 49 states of government morons, Texas cares about freedom and they're accepting and open of a diverse community. You know what I think, though, Xander? I think a lot of that, they definitely are more about personal responsibility and things of that nature that typically are more attractive to conservatives. However, with California being such a shit show, you've got a lot of Californians moving out, and they're moving to Texas, to the big cities, which is what is getting Texas close to being able to turn blue. Excuse me. It seems like a lot of the people, like for instance, up here in New York, who want to get away from the hardcore liberal bent of a state government, they seem to be going more like Tennessee, those regions down in there, Virginia, West Virginia, down through there. I'm sorry, West Virginia, not Virginia. All these states like Tennessee, Texas, Georgia, Virginia, becoming more purple is concerning for the Republicans, though, especially for the future. Could be, Harry, but I mean, just my personal opinion, I think they've gone towards purple just because of Trump. Now, I could be wrong. I don't think it's a move away from conservatism overall. I think it's specifically because of Trump. I mean, let's be honest, guys. We all know what kind of person Trump is. And with the way that even people like me that are voting for him just don't like him, and given how prevalent that is, the fact that this race has the potential to even be close should be concerning to Democrats, because this is an incumbent candidate that they should have been able to beat easily, and it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. M says, I would say there's more Democrats living here than there used to be because of California and Oregon especially. A lot of other issues besides presidents are leaning more Democratic here, like Prop 207. Yeah, there has been some significant shifts. I always wonder, hey, Soraya, as I said, I wonder how much of the red going towards purple shifts are specifically to do with Trump, though. I think, well, if nothing else, we'll find that out in 4 years, because whoever it is on the Republican ticket, it isn't going to be Donald Trump. So we'll find out, and I could be wrong. I think that's a knee-jerk reaction against Trump more than anything else. Let's see. PLF says, I'm just saying we need some yellow states. The two-party system is so fucking broken. We need some libertarian states. And you know what, PLF, though? We've talked about it before. The reason that can't happen is because third parties get browbeaten every presidential election into not voting for their candidate because they get told, well, you're just throwing your vote away. Or in this case, if you vote for a third party, you might as well just go vote for Trump. We're all, and then they'll get told, we're fine and accepting of everyone, but not right now. This is the most important election of our lifetime, which I can say is a phrase that I've heard with every election of my lifetime. Everyone is the most important of our lifetime. They said that with Nixon, McGovern. I mean, that's been for decades and decades. And a lot of people, they feel that pressure, the people that support third parties, and they're like, yeah, I don't like Trump. I don't want him in there. So they go ahead and they vote Biden, and their candidates show up poorly once again in a presidential election. Hi, Dean. Just Rick says, I am too European to understand this. Oh, Rick, I'm an American all my life, and I'm not sure I understand it all. So don't feel bad. Secular Spectre says, who do you predict could be the nominees for Dems and Republicans in 2024? To be honest with you, Spectre, this opinion will change probably 3,000 times between now and then. Right now, I'm thinking Nikki Haley is really strong on the Republican side. Democratic side, I think you'll see some of the... well, it depends on what happens in this election, too, because I don't think Biden would run again. So if Biden got through and made it through 4 years, obviously that puts Kamala as their leading candidate. Outside of that, I think Pete Buttigieg still has a pretty big future in the Democratic Party. Yeah, probably Kamala. Either way, even if they get beat, if Trump wins tomorrow, Kamala will probably be forefront again. Although I don't think she's just not likable enough, I don't think, to win. That's why she was polling at 3% in the primaries. And I really think Pete Buttigieg is going to get a big push here moving forward. FBI says, I feel like Trump's going to win. See, I have the opposite feeling. You guys know I'm voting for Trump, but and it's not a strong feeling. I don't see him quite being able to get over the hump because I don't see him doing that well in the Rust Belt. Cheyenne says, you know how towns get all silent before tornadoes and hurricanes hit? I know exactly what you mean. The ominous silence, Cheyenne. That is honestly what DC feels like right now. It's just quiet for once. That's kind of terrifying, to be honest with you, Shy. It really is. DC of all places to be quiet before this storm that's going to hit tomorrow. Yeah, that's You know what I'll try and do? What do you guys think of this? I will try to. I can't make promises because I never know how my day's going to unfold. Maybe I can get up here, and as the results are coming in, maybe we could live stream during the results. That might be fun, no? I think that'd be a good time. I just thought of that. Willie says, to be fair, since we might be on the verge of second civil war, I would say that this is a very important election. Yeah, it is. Oh, it is. But what I'm saying is, Willie, there are always big factors surrounding every election to where, again, you can go back and hear people saying this is the most important election of our lifetime in every election. Then you can make the case that each election is the most important one because the stakes keep getting higher, whatever the case may be, but you hear that every time. Every time. Let's see. Yes, please live stream the results. That would be fun, Kenny. I'll see what I can do for time. That would be a blast, actually. Santino says tomorrow's going to be quite the shit show. It is. Santino, that I think we can all agree on. I don't think it matters much who wins. It is going to be a shit show. I just, again, if it's a Biden win, you got to be concerned because, man, a lot of the hardcore Trumpers are going to be like, nope, they stole this one because they're already convinced that the Democrats are stealing it from them, and that could end up violent. If Trump wins, the places like Portland, Seattle, L.A., New York, I think they're going to erupt in violence. I think the protesters will be out there burning shit, Molotov cocktails in hand. M says, I think our country needs less old men in office. It certainly seems that way, doesn't it, M? But the young men and the young women just can never get that next level of support, to get them over the hump. I agree with you. I mean, you had young guys on both sides in recent elections. You had Marco Rubio, who's on the younger side, who ran against Trump in 2016, and a host of others. You had Pete Buttigieg, who ran against Biden this time. And, of course, even Amy Klobuchar. But I think Amy Klobuchar had a really, really good chance of winning the nomination until all the stuff about her being a psycho and throwing staplers at assistants and stuff like that. That's just a huge turnoff to people when they find out that you're actually abusive to your employees. I think that did her in. Before that, I think she had a real chance. Wholesome Dew says, I believe Biden will win, but I had a dream that Trump managed to win by 5 points. Also, Pennsylvania definitely swinging purple, which is surprising. Yeah, you think so? I don't think it's surprising, Deuce. It's definitely purple, but I don't think that's really surprising.
Yeah.
The only one, as was mentioned earlier, if Texas went blue, that's blow everything up type shocking. But Florida or Pennsylvania, I think, I think it's reasonable to believe either side wins there. Cheyenne says, I think what you said, Curtis, we're not going to know truly for a week because of contests, recounts, mail-in ballots. And I think, I think that's the worst thing that, hey, Deuce's stream boss, I think that's the worst thing that could happen as far as potential violence goes. Whoever wins, I would be so happy, and I think it'd be better, substantially better for all of us, if whoever wins has it wrapped up after tomorrow night. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think that would have the best chance of keeping the peace. I think it dragging out into next week and maybe even beyond, man, I just think that's going to get really bad. Tyler says, I think people are being too overdramatic. The president doesn't have that much control in office to begin with, and the idea of everything will change when they get in office is not likely. True, especially right now. Tyler, you're not wrong. Now, if Sanders had won the Democratic nomination, I think you could make a case that you're talking about such ideological differences that it's going to be seismic. Biden, no. I agree with you. The fact still remains, if Trump wins, tomorrow we're all, providing the lunatics don't ruin it for us, we'll all go out and we'll go to school and we'll go to work and we'll do the things we need to do and we'll go on about our days. But the same, and the same thing, if Biden wins, same thing. You're going to go get up, you're going to do your daily routine, and within your daily routine, it's not going to have a lot of effect. And if your guy didn't win, you're going to do all you can to make your voice heard over the next 4 years to try and stem his policies from becoming law. It'll be politics as usual. But everybody is so divided right now that it just takes on a whole different feel to it. But you are right. In essence, when you think about it, and that goes to all of us, when you think about it, whoever you're voting for, if the other guy wins, does it change your life tomorrow? Other than disappointment? If the other guy wins, how much does it change your life dramatically even over the next 4 years? Again, you guys know I'm voting for Trump for the differentiating factor for me is that I feel Biden has too much potential to get influenced by the extreme left, and I am not a supporter of pouring your money into government and having them redistribute it back to you. That's why I'm voting for Trump. We could go down the list and say, okay, I like this from Biden, I like this from Trump, back and forth. But the one that decided it is just what I outlined there. For instance, Biden, I think, has a health plan. Trump really has frustrated me with the whole healthcare thing because he really hasn't proposed anything. And that kind of pissed me off. And when you read Biden's plan, for me personally, there's a lot of things I'd like to see tweaked in it. But I think it's a solid plan with a lot of good ideas. So again, we could go down, back and forth all through the whole thing. But that's what tips it, is my fear that Biden will not resist the extremists in his party. Gogeta says, one thing we should all agree on, whoever wins, we're all Americans should love our fellow countrymen. That being said, after the Trump rally in Pennsylvania, 57,000 plus people, I find it hard to believe the polls. It's funny you brought that up, Gogeta. I was like, God damn, I thought the same thing looking at it. Because I've been feeling and still feel that the reason I say I give Biden a little bit of an edge is I think he wins Pennsylvania narrowly. I think he wins Pennsylvania by between 1 and 2 points. But then you see that fucking rally Trump had there. And for a presidential candidate to pull in that insane number of people that's just... So is it just a case of the hardcore Trump supporters will go anywhere to see him? Because if that's the case, that explains it. But if it's just a matter of, this is just the people from that area who are motivated enough by their candidate to get out there, then it is hard to see how Pennsylvania doesn't go Trump. It's a confusing run up to this election. And I do believe, and I'm curious to see how many of you guys agree with me, I think this election is much more, I don't think it's as much Trump versus Biden. I don't think a lot of people get super excited about Biden. I think this election is all about Trump.
Yeah.
Are you for Trump or are you against Trump? I really think that's what it comes down to, much more than Biden being a determining factor. Hey, Cheyenne Streamboss again. She says, if anyone tries looting, assaulting my apartment, my COVID won't be the worst thing they have to worry about. My Southern Spec Ops childhood training is. I couldn't agree with you more, Shy. Good for you. Absolutely. Protect yourself. Downward says, polls only represent the people bored enough to take them, in my opinion. Well, yeah, and you raise a good point, Downward, in the respect that that's why whenever I read a poll, I try to read the methodology they use as well. And once you read the methodology, and this goes for polls that'll lean either way. Once you read the methodology, a lot of times you go, oh, okay, fuck that, and you just disregard it. And other times you read it, it's like, okay, that's fair. So yes, methodology is huge with polls. Now, the Trafalgar Group is an interesting one, a poll taker that leans right. I'm not saying they're accurate, but at least with Trafalgar, and Trafalgar, the guy who runs it, has always been, has never shown a political lean personally himself, and he swears he doesn't have one. He says the reason it leans right, and I was reading a whole article about it, made sense. They feel like the Trump vote is always undercounted because there is so much vitriol aimed at Trump that people don't feel comfortable speaking about, or even telling somebody on the phone that they're voting for Trump. People are just worried. They don't want that out there. They don't want their coworkers to find out, their bosses to find out, because we see it all the time. How many people do you see on social media ending lifelong friendships and stuff because somebody's a Trump supporter? So what Trafalgar does is they use other factors to try and determine if there's some underlying bias going on. And basically what they do is they'll ask you a group of questions, and if everything in your questions points to the fact that you would obviously be a Trump supporter, but when you get to that question, they say undecided or Biden, they tend to skew those numbers. And that's not to say Trafalgar is right, but it's just another methodology of polling. everybody, the left hates them because they say, oh, they're just adding points for the Republicans. Well, what? And he'll tell you, yes, it comes out as an ad for Republicans, but that's because of Trump. So it'll be interesting to see if he's right or not. He was really close on. He picked a couple of the states last time that nobody else did. Exactly, Cheyenne. That's what happened in 2016. And Trafalgar now he, just like everybody else, he missed on some of his polling too, but he did have some of the states that Trump won.
Oh,
and that's,
yeah.
I mean, I almost feel bad because the guy takes so much heat for being, for holding Trump's water for him and stuff, and he tries to tell you, so like, listen, I honestly don't care who wins. I'm just telling you, I'm trying to get inside the voters' heads. The Ramoki, good to have you, pal. Dragonsphere says, can Trump and Biden actually get it up though? Oh, that I'm not sure of, Spheres. Biden's even older than Trump. I mean, he's pushing 80, so you got that going against you. Trump is one of the more unhealthy people I think I've ever seen, as far as even back years ago when he was doing that thing with the WWE. I remember laughing, thinking, okay, I know you're an older dude, but god damn, have you ever done anything athletic in your life?
Yeah.
He's just so slow and clumsy and everything. So given those factors, I'm going to say it's 50-50 on whether they can get it up. Prism says Biden 334. Oh man, could be. I don't think either one gets 334. It's my final prediction. Fallout really hems on Trump, says Biden is going to declare victory until it's certified by a third party, and I said he'll concede if he loses. Yeah, and you could be right, Prism. I don't see it that way. I didn't see in all the different scenarios I ran, I didn't see either one of them passing 300. I can't remember all the details. I think the biggest margin I had was one where Biden won, and I think he had like 295 or 296 or something like that. But that's not to say you couldn't be right. Nothing in this election, I can honestly say the only outcome that will surprise me is a huge Trump landslide. Outside of that, nothing would. A Biden significant landslide wouldn't shock me. Obviously, a close Biden win wouldn't surprise me. A close Trump win wouldn't surprise me. So there's not too much that's going to be a shocker here. Now, if things went completely haywire and Trump swept through and took every swing state, every potential swing state, like say he ran the whole Rust Belt along with Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nevada, Florida, all of them, that would shock me. Outside of that, I don't know what to think. Hey, Madman, good to see you, pal. Yo, man, I'm back. I went to college getting my degree. Good for you. Though since Trump is going to win, I don't think I'll finish my term before the bombs drop. I hope that's, listen, and when I say I hope that's not the case as far as any type of violence, it's more for you guys. I'm an old fart. I've lived a really good life. I've had a great time. I don't want to see you guys' future fucked up.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. I mean, for you guys, obviously, my own son, my grandkids, you guys got enough to deal with. I just don't want you to have to deal with basically, hey, Alonzo, with basically having to restart a country because of the fallouts of an election. That's what I worry about. Willie says, I had a teacher who basically implied me and my friends were white supremacists because she overheard us talking about the good Trump has done for the economy. Well, that's the stuff that drives me nuts. I mean, and it does go on both sides, but I will say this. I think the Democrats are much more hyperbolic this time. Anything Trump says or does now, it's got to be the work of Satan. And again, I see on social media all the time, and I've had people in my own circle of friends, because like everybody else, you have friends from your past that are with you on Facebook and stuff from my comedy days, wrestling days. And out of the blue, you'll get a post on there saying, well, here's the thing. Anybody that's a Trump supporter has to be a racist. They have to be a xenophobe, and they don't care about me or anything that's important to me. So if you're reading this right now and you're planning on voting for that orange buffoon, I need you to unfriend me right away. And I'm like, okay, fuck you then. Because I find that to be thoroughly offensive. I'm voting for the guy, and I'll tell you why, as I've told you guys why, because I don't want to get close to a scenario where the government starts taking more of our tax dollars to redistribute. One and only reason why. That's the determining factor as why I'm voting for Trump. And because of that, you're a racist and you're a xenophobe and you don't care about your friends. So any of those people who posted that kind of shit, I got no problem with that at all. It's like, bye, bitch. Jesus Christ, people get right off, are just lost their minds about things like that. And Nicholas says, Curtis 2020. I don't think we can get enough vote out by tomorrow, Nicholas. I'd be with you, but I don't think we can get the vote out there in time. Oh, you gotta go to class, Prism? Okay, thanks for stopping in, pal. Ramiro says, in my country, Argentina, you are demonized if you say in a class that lowering taxes and having a free market is good for the economy. Really? Ramiro? Wow. Yeah, well, the people that would like you to not have a free market are certainly the ones who would want to hold on to that power that they do have. Because again, the more money you give to the government, the more power you give to the government. And I don't like the government having any more power than they already have. Cheyenne says, GU's bell tower rings every 15 minutes starting at 6 a.m. I wish tomorrow at 6 a.m. when it's supposed to start, instead of a bell, it's just fortunate son. That would be absolute brilliance, Shy. I couldn't agree with you more.
Oh, yeah.
Albeck says, I'm not American, but I'm against the Chinese government, so I would vote Trump. Yeah, I think it's certainly reasonable for anybody to be against the Chinese government right now. You guys know how I feel about it. Because we can argue forever about the effect of COVID here in the U.S. and who did a piss poor job of, as far as politicians, of preparing us for it or of dealing with it. But the fact still remains, if the Chinese government would do the things they're supposed to do, we wouldn't, the virus would have never propagated to begin with. I mean, they've been being told for decades that those fucking street markets there are nothing but a breeding ground for such things and are a potential hazard to the world. And they were just like, fuck you guys, we'll do what we want. So yeah, I have absolute zero use for the Chinese government. And the reason I say that is because that's one of those cases where I do like to differentiate. It's not the Chinese people. It's not the average guy and girl walking the streets. They only know what their government allows them to know anyway. It's the Chinese government. They're the worst as far as I'm concerned. Dalward says, yes, in fact, I'm in favor of the government having significantly less power over my day-to-day life. That's where I am. And as far as it goes with healthcare and stuff like that, listen, there are parts of our life that to have a happy life, the government needs to be involved in. I'm just all for being very careful about what that is. And again, always erring on the side of keeping them out of our business. And there are ways that you can keep government out of dominating your life and still have things like affordable health care for all easily, because that's what government, to me, that's what I want my government to do. I want them to leave things to a free market, but I want them to be there to watch out for us and make sure the free market is also a fair market. All I want them to do is watch, because guys, we know there are plenty of people out there and corporations who will take advantage of us. So I want the government out there to make sure that they keep it fair for us, but not actually take our money and redistribute it for us. Amendment says, to misquote TFS, my scenario is so we are rooting for Biden? Let's be real, we're rooting against Trump. That's where I think most people are, Madman. Balancing out, why isn't Mexico in the Olympics? Because every Mexican that can, I've heard this one, run, jump, or swim is currently in the U.S. I've heard that one before. I like that one. And Madman's stream boss now, too. Yeah, I was talking about that earlier, Madman. I think you're 100% right. Joe Biden, he's a career politician. He's been in politics for 47 years. He's an old dude. He's not typically the kind of candidate that a lot of people get super excited for. So I think you're seeing this potentially record-shattering turnout all because of Trump, pro-Trump or anti-Trump. I think that's what this election is. Way more than Trump versus Biden, it's Trump versus Trump. Are you for him or are you against him? Would you guys agree with that? I to be honest with you, I really believe Biden has a minimal influence. In other words, I don't think anybody that was going to vote for Trump at any point saw Joe Biden come up as the Democratic candidate and went, oh, no, now I got to switch. I don't think that happened anywhere. Cheyenne says, oh, at Joe Biden 7%, I'm thirsty. Probably tomorrow around 10. Oh, I'm sorry, Cheyenne, you were talking to somebody else. I'm in favor of less government, Ultimate Despair says, unless, of course, it's gay people, women, trans people, and brown people. Even if that's not your position, it's the Republican Party position. I'm not understanding what you're saying, though, my friend. Ultimate Despair Gamer. I'm in favor of less government, unless, of course, it's gay people, women, trans people, and brown people. I'm not sure what you mean by that. You mean you're in favor of government intervention on their behalf? If that's what you're saying, sure. But that's what government is for. That goes back to what I said about the even playing field. Government should be there to make sure that everybody has equal opportunities. Yeah, so if that's what you're saying, I agree. Ramiro says, I agree, 100% agree, yes. So that's what I thought. I think no matter which side of the aisle you're on, that's what I think this election is, and it seems like most of you guys agree. It's either I'm voting for Trump or I'm voting against Trump, and Biden just happens to be the guy in the seat for the Democrats. Now, again, if it would have been somebody like Sanders, that wouldn't be as true, only because what Sanders is bringing to the table is entirely different than anything we've ever seen before, to be honest with you, in what he wants to accomplish. But with it being Biden and a centrist Democrat, I think this whole election is, are you for Trump or against Trump? Now, see, commenter illustrates what I'm talking about right here. I voted for Biden and I hate him. But in my opinion, Trump is far worse for the country. And I think that's true a lot. I think that's why you're seeing so many traditionally red states going purple. It is just what commenter said right there. There's a lot of that sentiment. I see it around me all the time. It'll be interesting to see how those states go in the midterm elections, no matter who wins, and in 2024. Giggity Goo says, what is the overall precedent set when either wins? I'm not sure what you mean, Giggity Goo, as far as what precedent. The overall precedent set when either wins? Well, the precedent has been, fortunately, prior to this, a cordial, as one could expect, exchange of power.
Oh, yeah.
Don't think it's going to be cordial whether it's an exchange of power or a keeping of the power. Unfortunately, in either event, this time I think it's going to get ugly. I hope it doesn't, but that's not what I believe. Kyoto, excuse me. Good to have you, my friend. I wish we could just I wish I could do a stream where you guys could actually physically be right here with me tomorrow and the days prior. You guys could all crash on the couch. Spaz Kid's got a futon in his room, stuff like that. Because I do worry about like people like Cheyenne who are in major cities and what could happen over the next couple days. Here you would be protected.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, I'm in a rural area where there's very likely to be little actual violence. But aside from that, let me put it this way. I am prepared for such a thing to take place, and I'm not one of the squeamish types that would would hesitate to act on it. So I wish I could keep you all just right here where I know you'll be okay. Madmint says, to be real here, I support freedom of speech completely. I support freedom of jokes, clearly. But as some of my best friends are black and trans people living in the U.S., and Trump's party is clearly against or apathetic to them. I don't agree with that, Madmint. I don't agree with that at all. I don't think they're apathetic to them. I certainly don't think... Well, let me clarify a little. I don't think the Republican Party is too welcoming of trans people. I got to give you that one. Black people I don't agree with. I honestly believe, and I hope this is the case, I think Republicans, conservatives just have a different view of how black people can be allowed to excel in America. I don't believe they're against them, and I hope that's the case. Trans, yeah, I would tend to agree with you. I think in general, not as a spoken policy, but in general, yeah, Republican conservatives are not too welcoming of trans people. That I agree with. Cheyenne says, update on COVID. I feel like I'm in KGB supervision with constant check-ins, but the nicest KGB ever. I'm too exhausted to get up and walk around much, much, but nauseous, a bit nauseous, but I'm sleeping a little better. I hope you get on the other side of that soon, Cheyenne. And again, for those of you who just came in, Cheyenne tested positive for COVID last week. Well, I hope you get on the other side of that. It's really heartening to hear how, what good care of you they're taking at Georgetown, though. I mean, that's a feather in their cap for anybody that might be listening to this at any point. It's nice to know, being in that situation, when you send your child off to college and, like with Braxton, the first time you're ever away from home and everything, it's good to know that they take good care of you and that your school is taking good care of you. I just hope you start feeling better. Excuse me. Wait a second. Marja says, is it true if you win the elections for a second, you lose your mind? A second term, you mean? I don't know. Some may have said that. I think Obama kept his wits about him fairly well, but but there's some cases in history where you can make a case for that. Sure. RPT says, unfortunately, I forgot to change voter registration after moving. My vote would have been libertarian to get minimum needed vote for next debates. Yeah, and that's like I say, RPT. Now, I'm not a libertarian, but I do see where you guys and any third party people really get screwed because you always get told the same thing. Don't vote your third party this time. This election is too important. You can do that in the future. And so too many people on those third party tickets listen to them and say, yeah, I don't want to be the reason that, in this case, Trump wins. And so they'll vote for Biden. Their candidates don't get a decent percentage of the vote, and they remain as cast-asides. People just watching from the periphery. Downlord says, honestly, I'm more excited about fiber internet. Nice, coming to my area than I am about the election. You just stop caring about politics when it's so toxic. I see that, Downlord.
Oh,
and as I said too, when we think about it, really break it down, and I'm guilty of putting even more emphasis on an election than is probably necessary. Because again, how is your life? Whoever wins, how is your life going to change tomorrow? And whoever wins, how do you think? Outside, now, again, we're talking outside of potential violence from extremists. We know that could have an effect on all of us. But outside of that, from the political nuts and bolts element, I know if my guy doesn't win, what'll happen? Worst case scenario, more government involvement in my finances, which, as an American citizen, I'll do whatever I can to try and fight back against that. But really, does it change my day-to-day life? No. I'm still going to be here hanging out with you guys every day. I'm still going to be watching anime with you guys every day. I assume most of you guys are still going to go to your jobs and you're going to go to school. And if your guy didn't win, you'll do the best you can to resist the changes they want to make. That's about all it amounts to. Madmint says, last comment of the night. What does the mother of a Down syndrome child and the Iron Man suit have in common? Oh, I'm scared to read this. Both had a Downey Jr. inside them. Good night, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's just so wrong, Madmint. For those of you who don't know, Madmint was one of the originators of the old joke streams we used to do. And the unfortunate thing is because Susan got so SJW and so over the top sensitive about things, because any of you guys who've been here for very long know the tagline to this channel forever was not for the easily offended, because little to nothing offends me. I can joke about most anything and take that in the context of a joke, just like with that. If anybody should be offended by something like that, you think it'd be me. I have two disabled children. Spent 25 years of my life taking disabled people into my home where we provided full-time care for them. Had our little Susie, who you guys know about, who had Down syndrome. It's still just a joke. That's all it is, a joke. And my adopted son, when he was still living at home, who has cerebral palsy and sits in a wheelchair, used to make some of the more offensive jokes about disabled people that you've ever heard. It all depends on your sense of humor. That's pretty brutal, Madman. Hi all says, if I was a USA citizen, I would vote for Trump because of his 3 Trump peace deals in the Middle East. If not Trump, then Kanye West. Do you watch Tim Pool? I've seen some. I know who Tim Pool is. I
Oh,
don't like watch him
yeah.
religiously, but I think he's a good dude. I like Tim Pool. Yeah. Well, that gets undersold here in America because again, the one thing's for certain,
Oh,
our mainstream media does have a very,
yeah.
very strong bias, and they're trying to get a specific candidate elected. So the things that have been accomplished in the Middle East are not something that will get covered here in America very much at all. But you're right. From what I'm understanding, and just from having this channel, and we have a significant number of Middle Easterners that are subscribers here, they seem to be appreciating it over there. Dollar Less Pineapple Pizza. His opinion is muted. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're saying, Wolverine. Not Dow Lords, right? You're saying that to Dow Lord, right? Where is my throne? He says. I didn't see what Dow Lord says. So yeah, I didn't follow. I didn't follow Wolverine. I didn't see what that was. Johnny says we've been briefed on some things about civil unrest come tomorrow. Obviously, I can't talk about it, but it's super worrying, and I hope it all just blows over. The sad thing is, Johnny, and I hope I'm wrong about this, no matter who wins, well, more so, to be honest, if Trump wins, I'm sorry, more honest, I think if Trump wins, the reaction will be most violent quickly. I think if Biden wins, there's much more chance of a slow burn reaction. You guys agree? Just because of the people that will be involved in starting it all. Again, I think you'll have a reaction if Biden wins, but I think you'll have that smoldering waiting with those far right groups, just waiting for Biden to listen to AOC just once, or to raise taxes just once, and I think that's when it goes. Whereas I think if Trump wins, you're going to have the extreme left just blow a gasket, pretty much like they did last time, and it's going to be immediate. So I think it depends on who wins, Johnny. If we get to a point where it cannot be a concern for a while. Jack says SJWs are closer to Nazis than the neo-Nazis on the far right sometimes. At least neo-Nazis don't try and control my language. You're not wrong there, Jack. You guys know how I feel about that. Yeah. They're very, very much censorship, very much my way or the highway. Yeah, absolutely. Alabek, that's interesting. I already said this months ago. What will happen to the MSM if Biden wins? You think about it. What Alabek's saying there. Now, you've already got, as far as the leanings in media, Fox News already trounces MSNBC and CNN in ratings. Now, if you don't have Trump to complain about, in all seriousness, I think it's going to hurt their ratings even more because the people on the right are going to be chomping at the bit trying to get power back. So you'll have people, I think you'll buoy Fox News ratings even more, and I think you'll just see the bottom drop off for CNN and MSNBC. And think about the sad, pathetic clout chasers like on YouTube. You know which ones I mean, not people who have legitimate jobs in the industry and it's their job to report on politics, but the ones who are there just to try and stir shit, and try and leverage anything to an orange man bad rant so that they can jerk off to getting a whole bunch of likes and stuff. What happens to them? If Biden's in there, people are just not going. People don't have that vitriol. They won't be worked up all the time. A lot of their
Oh,
audience is going to go to shit, which is
yeah.
a good thing. Downward says, LOL, he was saying that because of my proclivity for ordering pineapple anchovy pizza, that my opinion doesn't count. Gotcha, which is heresy, by the way. Okay, I gotcha. I should have put that together. I didn't. What Wolverine was saying. Yes, for any of you who are new here, outside of the color arguments over what the color of the $50 donation level should be, outside of that, probably the most violent things get in here is when we discuss the pineapple on pizza situation. I am total anti. Dow Lord and several others are total pro, including my wife. I don't get it. But most places online wouldn't even be able to have political conversations like this because people get too carried away and it just goes off the rails. We're able to do a pretty decent job of having political conversations and keeping everything, at a certain level of decorum. But decorum goes out the window whenever you're talking about magenta or pussy pink as far as those colors of the $50 level or pineapple on pizza. Chad says Trump is an entertaining Russian asset. As I said, that's Trump is a lot of things. A Russian asset, he's not. And even when you think about what the Russians did in the last election, had nothing to do with Trump's input. It was Russians out there. They were trying to get him elected, but all they did was manipulate a bunch of simpletons who believed stuff that they read on social media without verifying it. So yeah, that one's not true at all. Philip says they'll start criticizing Biden. Really, they want Harris in power. I agree with that. They'll get Biden elected and then impeach him in favor of Harris. I think, Philip, yeah, I would not be surprised to see that at all. I will say this: if Biden wins, then you will see more attention paid to that investigation of Hunter Biden, which might implicate, because right now the mainstream media won't touch with a 10-foot pole. I think you'll see them starting to slide into gear there where it's like, okay, well, if he really was dirty and he's out, that's okay. We really, as you said, we wanted Harris in there. I also believe that's why Nancy Pelosi put in the machinations for the 25th Amendment. I don't think that was aimed at Trump. I think that was aimed at, potentially, at Biden. Commenter's going to order some pineapple pizza right now. Doward says it's the pineapple and anchovies that make the pizza good. Now, I have to give you that one, Doward. My wife will split with you on the anchovy thing, though. Even she can't do anchovies. But yes, she's all about the pineapple. Ocho, too, he's on the pineapple pizza side. If Naruto was real and was running for president, which party you see him running? Wow, that's a tough one, Margus. I think because the ninjas were so much about personal responsibility and everybody doing their own thing, I think it would probably be on the Republican side. I'm gonna guess. Gon says, wasn't that Tana Mongoose bitch offering her nasty ass OnlyFans for free to the people voting for Joe? Was she? Gon, I didn't hear that. Was she? Tana Mangino or whatever that her name is. I didn't hear that. And Trevor says, pineapple pizza sucks chunks. That's where I am. Pineapple pizza's lit, Gon says. I am proud of that, though. Think about it, guys. And a lot of you guys are here regularly in the chats we have. In this most vitriolic presidential run-up to an election we've ever had, we've had, and we'll continue to do so, we have a bunch of political streams, and never once has it gone over the edge. I'm really proud of that. I'm just really proud of being able to do that. And now what happens is once these streams go live as videos to the YouTube channel, then you get people in the comments there. But that's because you get drive-by people. It's just the Orange Man Bad crew who they just want to come in and comment whatever particular Orange Man Bad platitude they have, regardless of what the content of the stream was. But as far as the people that populate these streams, I think it's pretty impressive that everybody can come in here and have conversations and keep it civil. Money on my mind says, imagine Trump wins and Biden pulls out a death note. The only thing there is, I do believe Joe's slipping a little. I hope he better remember the right goddamn names. Philip says he would have used it already, probably. Thomas says, thoughts on abandoning the Electoral College. I'm not in favor of abandoning it, Thomas. I think it works for the reasons it was put in place. As somebody who lives in a rural community, I like the fact that the Electoral College allows the presidency to be voted on by districts within the country instead of just by sheer numbers, because we know that, and this is why the Electoral College is in place, people that tend to congregate together typically the majority will feel a certain way. And the idea was to represent the entirety of the nation rather than allowing just the centers of population to control who wins the presidency. So I've always been an electoral college supporter. RPT is now stream boss. Hawaiian and bacon pizza for the win. Oh, with you put bacon on it too? Yeah, with my wife RPT, it's just the regular Hawaiian that's that. God, that pineapple and ham. Although I do like ham on a pizza. But as soon as you put pineapple on it too, then it's like, Lick says, Brave Super Chat real quick. I dislike Trump. I know real daring. Give me attention now. Licks, you're not alone. As I said, I think that's why, and we'll find out as we go down the road, but I think you're representative of why so many red states have gone purple. I don't think it's so much that they've abandoned maybe their conservative ideals. I think they just hate Trump. I don't think you're alone there at all, Lex. Ed Edgar, good to see you, pal. Cheese pizza and combination pizza is the best. And a good sausage. I like a good sausage. Yes, I know how creepy that sounded, but there's nothing better than a great sausage on a pizza. But as I told you guys, the best cheese pizza I've ever had, if you're ever in Orlando, go down to Disney Springs. It doesn't cost anything to get in there. It's not a park. It's just a shopping district. Go down to Disney Springs and go to Pizza Ponte. That just, I just got a Woodrow just even talking about it. Oh my God, that's so good. So good. Patrick says, I think Biden will win. Yeah, Patrick, again, I'm voting Trump, but if I had to pick, I think Biden wins it. I think so. I'm not going to be surprised either way. But if you're just asking me a straight prediction, I do think he wins. Cody says, I have a pizza idea. Heart attack from diabetes. It has all the meat toppings and has a crap load of M&Ms and Reese's. Oh, M&Ms and Reese's. Oh, you're preaching to the choir there. My two favorite candies are the straight up regular Hershey bars, with or without almonds, and Reese's. Yeah, it don't get much better than that. Christian says, election will be contested. I'm afraid you're right there, Christian. Fallout is an attempted communist revolution. Our civil war was abnormal in how it was fought, and it only takes a few. I'll have to watch for the rest of it. There's a real good chance the election will be contested. I agree with you, Christian. I don't think civil war, again, is something that's going to, and I could be wrong, and I hope I'm not, is not something that's going to explode in the coming days. I think it's going to be more, if it does happen, it'll be more of a slow burn. But I hope I'm wrong altogether on that. And it only takes a few. Let's see what else. I don't want to miss if Christian's finishing that thought. Chrome says, I'll be honest, I just don't see it. Biden support seems too weak to win. You could be right, Chrome. Again, this is one of those cases where I will gladly admit to you guys, I really don't know. Everything I've said about putting the map together and everything were guesses on my part. Typically, because I am such a political junkie, typically I have a pretty strong feeling about how things are going to go the day before an election. I really don't know. Yeah, that's why, like Chrome says, I don't see it. Biden's support seems too weak to win. That makes sense to me. And when people come in and say, no, Biden's lead is just too strong and Trump is just too unpopular among people even in his own party, that makes sense to me. I just really do not know. Tyler says, have you heard about Australia trying to get rid of hentai? No. I mean, we know that Australia is just fake anyway because the flat earthers told us. But even if you're not a real country, you don't get rid of hentai. What the fuck is up with that? Lick says, I think it doesn't matter who wins. The only ones who truly win are the fearmongers and the hyperbole spreaders. That being said, those people definitely want Trump to win. Excuse me. Could be Licks, but you're right. I mean, so it'll be like the troubles in Ireland. Very, Christian, that could be very similar. And Christian, of course, is making reference back to the old IRA, and well, that went on for decades in Ireland. I think you're going to see, if we do see violence, it'll be more like that. That's actually a really good analogy. Yes, I think it'd be more along those lines, where you have the pockets of violence and stuff like that. Yes. Yeah, I do. That's actually pretty good, Jack. Pineapple is the pedophile of pizzas. Fight me. Okay, that's pretty good. I've never heard it quite like that. I approve. um, okay, Chrome says my thoughts are Biden will lose big. Arizona and Texas go Trump easy. California goes Biden. The overall votes in California will be lower than the last election because no Bernie. They wanted him. That's entirely possible, Chrome. Yeah, the numbers may not be as overwhelming in California because you do have a significant, probably the most, well, California, Oregon, Washington have the most significant numbers of extreme left voters. And I think Chrome is right there that some of them are just pissed off and are going to stay home. Yeah, that I do tend to agree with you on. Wild Corkery says, we got flat earthers here saying USA is just a reality TV show with Trump the main character. I got to admit, though, that one's not that hard to buy, really. Imaginary countries shouldn't try to take hentai from the people, right, Big Green? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
That Lord took over Stream Boss. The only true divide in America is the heretics and the true children of God who eat pineapple and anchovy pizza. Wolverine is a heretic, sadly. See what I mean, guys? We can all have a conversation about politics all day long, and things will stay, fairly civil. But we start talking pineapple pizza or the color of the $50 donation, and there's usually some deaths involved. It happens. It happens. It's bound to. Big Green says, gross, dude. All right, guys, I gotta go. Thank you very much for the stream. I'll be talking to you guys tomorrow. I should be able to stream during the day, and I will try and do that. Let me see what I can schedule. And my wife goes out tomorrow night. She has a dance class because my granddaughter takes dance, and then the moms and grandmas do a whole thing at their recital. So she has that class tomorrow. Let me see if I can figure it out to where I could stream during the as the election results are coming in. Philip says, Australia already was overrun with snakes and spiders and fire tornadoes. Plus, there's no guns. Why'd they have to give me another reason to go there? We've always wanted to visit Australia, among other countries. My wife and I have talked about that, Philip. And I showed her some of those pictures of those giant fucking spiders they have in Australia, and like those fields that look like they're covered in several feet of snow, but it's actually just spider webs. And she's like, no, I'm not going there. You've never seen anyone more terrified of spiders than my wife. She saw that and she's like, nope. It got crossed right off the list. So if I go to Australia at some point, it's going to be a solo. Wolverine says, permission to hide, Dow Lord. I can't, Wolverine. I can't in good conscience do it. I think it's in a case like this, it's much more incumbent upon us to try and help him and understand the error of his pineapple ways than it is to ignore him or to cast him aside. We've got to bring him around because he's a good dude. He's just misguided on this one topic. And now Lord Stream Boss now too. Let's see. I just want to make sure I did catch everybody's super chats. All right, guys, and thank you again for the stream. Thank you for making them so interesting. Thank you for keeping everything civil. I really appreciate it. But now today's sticky stuff, we know Monday's sticky stuff is usually blah, but this sticky stuff is surprisingly potent, and it'll actually give you a little lift because it's pre-Civil War sticky stuff. This could be the last sticky stuff we get before the shit hits the fan, and we're all out there in the streets having to fight our countrymen. So because of that, this is like the lost hopefulness of youth. Anna Ridley, good to have you. This is like the sticky stuff from the before time, as it will be known after the Civil War starts tomorrow. So here's some before time sticky stuff. Get out your officially licensed sticky stuff fanny packs and become king again. Bow down, peasants, Dow Lord says. Dow Lord is ruling, and he's got the pineapple at his side. But here it comes. The before time sticky stuff. Keep it. It's a collector's item. Pamfu, pamfu. Pamfu, pamfu. Sticky stuff for you, for you, for you, for you. The last sticky stuff before the world changes. Let's hope I'm kidding, because we'll bang, okay? Flashily like Buggy. And as always, most importantly, regardless who wins that fucking election tomorrow. Goosh, 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 goosh. Goosh. Yeah.